Hey there, I'm Susanne. Welcome back to the Blissful Biz podcast. Today, I want to have a heart to heart with you about something that keeps coming up in my coaching calls with yoga teachers, with wellness coaches, with life coaches. Just last week, one of my students shared something that really struck a chord with me. She looked at me almost apologetically and said, I feel like such a fraud charging for my online classes. I mean, it's just videos, right? You know, every time I hear something like this, and I hear it a lot, I'm reminded of my own journey. I remember sitting at my desk 6, 7, 8 years ago, feeling exactly the same way about my services. Want to hear something kind of embarrassing? I used to design entire website for $1,000. I know. I spent weeks building these beautiful custom websites, thinking my clients wouldn't be able to afford more. So let's talk about what's going on there. Welcome to the Blissful Biz podcast, the show where we explore how to build an online business that's simple, sustainable, and profitable without the hustle and no matter your age. I'm your host, Susanne Reicher, and my mission is to help you package your expertise and create a blissful, highly profitable online business that aligns with your passions and values. In this podcast, I share practical, actionable advice as well as insights from my own business journey and the valuable lessons I've learned building my online business. If you're ready to build a business that brings you both bliss and success, you are in the right place. Here's what's fascinating. I was doing exactly what I see so many yoga teachers doing now. I was staying in my clients' wallets. What do I mean by that? I was making pricing decisions based on what I thought people could afford instead of the value I was providing. I was essentially trying to make financial decisions for my potential clients. And let me tell you, that's not our job. We need to stay out of our clients' wallets. Stay out of your client's wallet is one of the most important things you have to learn as an entrepreneur. Think about it this way. When you go to a car dealership, does the salesperson look at your outfit and say, "Oh, you probably can't afford this car. Let me show you something cheaper"? Of course not. At least they shouldn't if they're a good car salesperson. They show you the cars and let you decide what fits your budget. But for some reason, we do this all the time. After working with hundreds of yoga teachers to build their online businesses, I've noticed something fascinating. The ones who struggle the most aren't struggling because of their teaching ability, their tech setup, or even their marketing. They are struggling because they are stuck in these pricing mindset traps. So let's dive into that, right? So let me share the top 3 mindset blocks I see over and over. First, there's the "I'm not good enough yet" trap. First, there's the "I'm not good enough yet" trap. This usually sounds like I'll charge more when I have another certification, or I need to be more advanced before I can charge that much. But here's the thing. You're not charging for your certifications. You are charging for the transformation you provide. Second, but there's free content on YouTube blog. Well, yes, there is. And there are also free recipes online, but people still buy cookbooks. There are free workouts online, but people still hire personal trainers. Why? Because they're not paying for information. They're paying for guidance, structure, and support. Third, and this is a big one, there's the "I need to be accessible" trap. This was my personal favorite when I was undercharging for my services. But here's what I learned. When you undercharge, you actually become less accessible because you can't sustain your business long term. You burn out. You can't invest in better equipment or continuing education. And ultimately, you can't serve your students as well. You need to know how much money you need to make to have that feeling of abundance, but also to cover your expenses, to pay back for your certifications, for your education, to be able to reinvest in your business. And then you need to reverse engineer. What do you need to sell? At what price points to make that amount? This is where you start, right? So let me tell you about one of my clients. She had this incredible 6-week yoga program. The content was amazing. Her teaching style was amazing. And she had years of experience of a specialized training. She was charging $67 for the whole thing. When we started working together, the first thing she said to me was, "But my students can't afford more." You know what we discovered? She had never actually tried to charge more. She was making that decision for her students. And after we worked through those mindset blocks, she raised her price to $297. Want to know what happened? First, she actually started getting more sales. Yes, you hear me right. She was getting more sales at a higher price point. But more importantly, even, her students were more committed. They showed up, they did the work, and they got better results. Because when people invest meaningfully in their transformation, they take it seriously. Let me get really practical with you and share some actual numbers. I know this is exactly what I would have wanted to hear when I was starting out. Real, concrete examples. For your entry-level offerings, like a single workshop replay or a short course, you want to be in the $27 to $47 range minimum. And notice I said minimum. This is your starting point, not your ceiling. Moving into what I call your sweet spot offerings, things like an online course or a comprehensive group program. We are looking at $200 to $800. I can feel some of you having heart palpitations right now. But remember the story I shared from my client. Her $297 program actually sold better than her $67 one. And you don't have to start at $800. You can work your way up to there. And next you have your premium offerings, because this is where it gets really interesting. Your high-touch programs, your comprehensive teacher trainings, your advanced specialized courses. These should start at $1,000, like $997, and go up from there. And your VIP membership that includes personal feedback and plans and all that, think $197 and more monthly. There you have it, from entry-level offerings that are around $27 to $47 to start with, to sweet spot offerings, the middles, DIY, self-study online courses, group programs that are between $200 and $800 up to $1,000. And then you have your premium offerings from $1,000 to sky's the limit. I know exactly what some of you are thinking right now, because I hear these objections in every single coaching call. But nobody in my market will pay that. My local studio only charges $20 per class. I'm not as experienced as insert famous yoga teacher. What if people think I'm greedy and I'm like a commercial yoga sellout? What if nobody buys? So let's address those fears one by one. First, nobody in my market will pay that. This is a story we tell ourselves. I've worked with teachers in tiny towns and in big cities in different countries with all kind of specialties, and these numbers work. Why? Because when you position yourself correctly and clearly communicate your value, the market responds. My local studio only charges $20 per class, or even less, right? You're not competing with local studios. You are offering something completely different. When someone buys your online program, they're getting lifetime access, the ability to practice on their schedule, the opportunity to replay and truly master techniques, and the convenience of practicing from home. It's a completely different value. Next, I'm not as experienced as insert famous teacher, and you don't need to be. Your students aren't paying for your years of experience, they are paying for the transformation you help them achieve. Some of my most successful clients are newer teachers who simply know how to effectively solve a specific problem for their students. And that's what people are paying for. They don't care about your experience. Nobody really cares. They don't care that you trained with this teacher and this teacher. They care about the results you bring them, how you make them feel, and if you can help them, solve their problem. Next, what if people think I'm greedy? This is a big one. I think most of us can relate to that. But here's what I want you to consider. Is it greedy to create a sustainable business that allows you to serve your students better? Is it greedy to charge enough that you can continue your education and improve your teaching? Is it greedy to value your expertise? Think about how often we don't think twice about investing in our education and trainings, and then we never really consider how we actually going to make that money back. I want you to create a plan for that. Make a list of everything that you've already invested in your trainings, in your career. How much have you made back from that? How much money do you need to make that money back, to make that investment back, to have a positive return of investment? And finally, what if nobody buys? This is where testing comes in. It's a real fear. I totally get it, and it can happen. I definitely had launches. I tried to sell something and nobody bought. But honestly, I don't think it ever was about the price. There was something wrong with the messaging. There was not the right offer at the right time. It didn't resonate. That's why people don't buy. Very, very rarely it's the price point. But you can test it. And you don't have to jump from $67 to $497 overnight. You can gradually increase your prices, test different price points, and see what works for your market. As I said, the problem is rarely the price. It's usually the positioning and the way we communicate value. Remember how I told you I used to design websites for $1,000? When I finally raised my prices to $3,000 and then more, what happened is that not only did I start attracting better clients who valued my work more, but I was able to deliver better results because I wasn't constantly hustling for the next project. I could focus on quality over quantity. And the same thing happens with yoga teachers who start charging what they're worth. Here's what becomes possible when you price correctly. You can invest in better equipment for clearer instruction. You can hire support to manage the tech stuff so you can focus on teaching and serving your clients. You can continue your own education to bring even more value to your students and clients. You can create a sustainable business that serves your students long term. And finally, you can take care of yourself so you can show up fully for your students. If you're sitting there right now, maybe planning your online offering or wondering if you should raise your prices, consider this your permission slip, though honestly, you never needed it from me. As someone who's been exactly where you are, just in a different industry, and who's now helped hundreds of yoga teachers build thriving online businesses, I can tell you, your expertise is valuable. Your time is valuable. Your energy is so valuable. So price accordingly. You got this. I'd love to hear what's shifting for you after this episode. Send me a DM on Instagram, share this with a teacher friend who needs to hear it, or better yet, take one action today to step into your worth. Maybe that's raising one price. Maybe that's finally launching that premium offering you've been sitting on. Until next time, my beautiful friend, keep shining your light, keep sharing your gifts, and please charge what you're worth. And if you're ready to dive deeper into building your online yoga business, you know where to find me. Until next week, bye. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Blissful Biz podcast. If you found this helpful, I'd love it if you hit subscribe and left a review on Apple Podcasts. It helps other yoga teachers and coaches find these strategies too, and it would mean the world to me. It really makes a difference. And if you're ready to take the next step, head over to my website, susannereiker.com, where you'll find my free resources, latest blog posts, and all the ways we can work together to grow your online business. Until next week, keep building your blissful biz.